The secret behind the iconic slip dress, the bias cut. Introduced in the 1920s by Madeleine Vionnet, the bias cut dress was one of the first breaks away from women wearing corsets and was found to be the key to that flattering, figure-hugging silhouette. Maybe you've seen this viral tweet comparing the difference between two skirts, one cut on the bias and one not. It's a great illustration to see how these two cuts naturally drape. We see this technique a lot in modern fashion on everything from bias cut skirts to slip dresses to beautifully draped cowl necklines. Here's how you can add it to your projects. To find the bias on your fabric, you first need to find the grain line, which is always going to be parallel to your finished edge or selvage, and then turn it 45 degrees. The reason why this works is because on the bias of a woven fabric, you get a lot of stretch in the material, whereas on the straight grain, you get almost none. If I try to drape on the straight grain, I get more angles, whereas draping on the bias gives me these really fluid looking curves. Keep in mind that you can't just take a pattern that's designed for the straight grain and shift it to the bias. Because of the stretch, it's going to fit differently. Bias cut garments are also typically more expensive, not only because they're typically made in silk, but because when you have to place the pattern on an angle on the fabric, you can't put the pattern pieces as close together, and therefore a bias cut garment is going to take up more yardage. I have a few examples of bias cut patterns and cowls on my page, so make sure to follow so that you see them, and stay tuned for more fashion education.